Have you ever felt exhausted? Not because of enemies, but because of the people you stayed loyal to. What if the ones you defend the most are quietly destroying you? Not with violence, not with betrayal, but slowly, silently, every day. Many people believe loyalty is always a virtue. They were taught to stay, to endure, to be patient, especially with family, friends, or long-term relationships. But Stoicism teaches something far more uncomfortable. Loyalty without wisdom becomes self-betrayal. Some relationships don't collapse loudly. They don't explode into drama or obvious conflict. Instead, they drain your energy, weaken your confidence, and slowly pull you away from who you are meant to be. While you keep telling yourself, this is just what loyalty looks like. But here's the Stoic truth. Loyalty is not meant to cost you your peace. It is not meant to erase your boundaries, and it is never meant to destroy your self-respect. Today, we'll uncover 8 signs you may be loyal to people who are quietly destroying you, and how a Stoic mind recognizes the danger before it's too late. Awareness is your first weapon. Sign 1. They drain your energy, not your growth. Pay close attention to how you feel after spending time with them, not during the conversation, but after. If you consistently walk away feeling heavy, exhausted, or strangely diminished, that is not a coincidence. That is information. Many destructive relationships don't announce themselves through chaos or open conflict. Instead, they operate quietly. Conversations feel harmless on the surface. There may even be laughter, history, and shared memories. But underneath, something is always taken from you. Your clarity, your motivation, your emotional strength. Stoic philosophy teaches a simple but uncomfortable principle. Nothing in your life is neutral. Everything either strengthens your character or weakens it. When you are around people who help you grow, you feel challenged but energized. Even difficult conversations sharpen you. They push you toward virtue, discipline, and self-respect. Growth may be uncomfortable, but it leaves you stronger. Energy-draining relationships do the opposite. They leave you foggy, indecisive, doubting yourself. You may notice that after interacting with them, you procrastinate more, think less clearly, or feel less capable of taking action. Over time, this erosion becomes your new normal. And here is where loyalty becomes dangerous. You tell yourself, they've been in my life for years. You say, they don't mean harm. You rationalize the exhaustion as normal or worse, your fault. But Stoicism asks a harder question. What is the effect of this relationship on your character? Marcus Aurelius warned that the people we keep shape our inner world. And if someone consistently pulls you away from discipline, peace, and self-command, then remaining close to them is not kindness. It is negligence toward yourself. This does not mean every relationship must feel easy. Growth requires friction, but there is a difference between constructive strain and silent depletion. One builds resilience, the other slowly hollows you out. A Stoic does not ignore patterns. He does not wait for collapse to justify clarity. If your energy is constantly drained in someone's presence, your mind is telling you something your emotions are afraid to admit. Loyalty is not proven by how much you can endure. It is proven by how well you protect what allows you to stand strong. And remember this, anything that slowly weakens you is not worthy of your loyalty. Sign 2. You keep making excuses for their behavior. Notice how quickly you rush to defend them, especially when no one is attacking. You hear yourself saying things like, they didn't mean it that way. They're just under a lot of stress. That's just how they are. At first, these excuses feel compassionate, reasonable even. You believe you're being understanding, patient, loyal. But Stoicism warns us that repeated justification is often the language of self-betrayal. When someone consistently crosses your boundaries, disrespects your time, or diminishes your sense of worth, The mind looks for ways to reduce the discomfort of staying. And the easiest way to do that is by rewriting reality. You stop asking whether their behavior is acceptable. You start explaining why it should be tolerated. This is not empathy. This is avoidance. Stoic thinkers like Epictetus taught that clarity comes from observing actions, not interpreting intentions. Intentions are invisible. Behavior is not. When a pattern repeats, it is no longer an accident. It is a choice. Yet loyalty distorts perception. You defend them to others. You defend them in your own mind. You even feel uneasy when someone points out what you already sense. That unease is important. It means part of you knows the truth. Every excuse you make on their behalf slowly trains you to ignore your own standards. Over time, you become someone who tolerates what you once would have questioned. You shrink your expectations, not because you changed your values, but because confronting the truth feels too costly. But Stoicism does not reward comfort. It rewards alignment with reality. And a Stoic does not demonize people. But he also does not lie to himself. He understands that compassion without clarity leads to weakness. And weakness, when repeated, becomes a habit. Ask yourself this calmly and honestly. If this behavior came from a stranger, would I accept it? If the answer is no, then loyalty has already crossed a dangerous line. You're not responsible for explaining away someone else's conduct. You're responsible for protecting your character. And remember this: excuses are how self-betrayal learns to sound reasonable. When you stop justifying, you begin seeing clearly. Sign 3. Your boundaries disappear. Around them, pay attention to who you become when they are present. Do you speak less carefully? Do you hesitate before saying no? Do you silence thoughts that you would normally express with calm confidence? When boundaries disappear, it rarely happens all at once. It happens in small compromises. You delay a response even though you feel uncomfortable. You agree to something that drains you. You stay quiet to avoid tension. None of these moments seem serious on their own, but together they form a pattern of quiet self-erasure. Stoicism teaches that boundaries are not walls built out of anger. They are expressions of self-respect. They define where your responsibility ends and where another person's begins. Without them, there is no dignity, only endurance. In destructive relationships, boundaries are often framed as selfish. When you try to protect your time or energy, you're made to feel unreasonable. So you adapt. You soften your limits. You explain yourself more than necessary. And eventually, you stop setting boundaries altogether. Not because you don't need them, but because it feels easier not to enforce them. This is where loyalty becomes submission. A Stoic understands that peace is not maintained by pleasing others. It is maintained by honoring what is essential. Marcus Aurelius wrote that no one can harm you without your participation, and boundaries are how you withdraw that participation. When you abandon your boundaries, you teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, you teach yourself that your needs are negotiable. Over time, this creates internal conflict. You feel resentment, but you suppress it. You feel exhaustion, but you rationalize it. The price is your self-respect. True loyalty does not require you to disappear. True connection does not demand self-denial. Stoicism does not ask you to be harsh. It asks you to be clear. If someone reacts negatively when you set a calm, reasonable boundary, that reaction is information, not something to manage or fix. A person who benefits from your lack of boundaries will always resist their return. Ask yourself this Stoic question: who do I become when I stop protecting my limits? If the answer is smaller, quieter, or less myself, then loyalty has turned against you. And remember, loyalty without boundaries becomes submission, and submission slowly destroys the soul. Sign 4. You feel guilty for wanting distance. Notice how quickly guilt appears the moment you think about stepping back. You haven't done anything wrong. There was no explosion, no clear betrayal. And yet, the idea of creating distance makes you feel selfish, cold, or disloyal. That guilt is not accidental. In many quietly destructive relationships, guilt replaces force. No one needs to threaten you or argue with you. The emotional pressure is internal. You begin to associate distance with moral failure. Staying feels right. Leaving feels cruel, even when staying costs you your peace. Stoicism teaches something deeply important here. Guilt is not the same as conscience. Conscience guides you toward virtue. Guilt, when conditioned by unhealthy dynamics, keeps you trapped in patterns that harm your character. Ask yourself honestly, what are you actually guilty of? Is it wrongdoing, or is it simply the fear of disappointing someone who benefits from your availability? Many people confuse endurance with goodness. They believe that tolerating discomfort proves loyalty. But Marcus Aurelius warned against living according to other people's expectations instead of one's own reasoned values. When guilt controls your decisions, reason has already been replaced by fear. In healthy relationships, distance is respected. In unhealthy ones, distance is punished, often silently. You may notice subtle reactions when you pull back. Coldness, passive remarks, emotional withdrawal, or nothing at all, just a heavy feeling that you are somehow doing something wrong. Over time, this conditions you to stay close, not because it's right, but because it feels safer than the discomfort of guilt. But Stoicism is not about avoiding discomfort. It is about choosing the discomfort that preserves your integrity. A Stoic understands that peace is not owed to anyone, but it is owed to the self. Wanting space does not make you unkind. Wanting distance does not make you immoral. It means you are listening to a signal that something is misaligned. Here is the key Stoic distinction. Compassion does not require self-sacrifice without limit. You're allowed to step back. You're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to protect your inner order. If someone's presence requires you to constantly suppress your needs, your values, or your clarity, then guilt is not a warning sign. It is a leash. Ask yourself this calmly. If distance brings relief instead of regret, what does that tell me? Well, relief is truth. Peace is truth. Stoicism teaches that freedom begins the moment you stop asking permission to protect your well-being. And remember this, peace does not require permission, and guilt is not proof that you're wrong. Sign 5. They benefit while you diminish. Look closely at who is gaining and who is slowly losing in this relationship. At first, it may not be obvious. There is no open exploitation, no clear imbalance you can easily point to, but over time, a quiet pattern emerges. They grow more confident, more supported, more stable, while you feel increasingly drained, uncertain, or diminished. This is one of the most dangerous signs because it hides behind familiarity. You give your time, you give your patience, you give emotional labor, understanding, and loyalty. And somehow, you end up with less. Stoicism teaches that relationships should strengthen virtue on both sides. When only one person consistently benefits, something has gone wrong. Seneca warned that generosity without wisdom leads to self-destruction. Giving is noble, but only when it does not come at the cost of your own integrity. In destructive dynamics, the imbalance is subtle. They may lean on you for support, but disappear when you need the same. They may rely on your stability while offering chaos in return. Over time, you begin to shrink your needs to keep the relationship working. This is not loyalty. This is depletion. A Stoic does not measure relationships by intention or history, but by effect. Ask yourself, who am I becoming as a result of this connection? If your discipline weakens, your peace erodes, and your sense of self fades, then the cost is too high. no matter how long you've known them or how much you've invested. Many people stay because of sunk cost. I've already given so much. I can't walk away now. But Stoicism reminds us that past effort does not justify present harm. Continuing a destructive pattern simply because it is familiar is not strength. It is avoidance. A healthy relationship may require effort, but it does not require self-erasure. It challenges you, but it does not hollow you out. It asks for contribution, not quiet sacrifice. Here is a hard Stoic truth. If someone rises while you fall, virtue is no longer guiding the relationship, and when virtue is absent, loyalty becomes a liability. You are not required to keep feeding something that consumes you. You are not obligated to stay in a dynamic where your strength is the fuel for someone else's comfort. Ask yourself this without emotion, without accusation, just reason. Am I growing here? Or am I being used to maintain someone else's growth? Stoicism teaches that dignity is not negotiable. Any bond that demands your steady decline in exchange for someone else's stability is not a bond worth preserving. And remember this clearly. If one person benefits while you diminish, that is not loyalty. It is exploitation disguised as connection. Sign 6. You're afraid of who you'll be without them. Notice what truly keeps you attached. Is it respect or is it fear? When loyalty turns destructive, it often survives on a quiet anxiety, the fear of emptiness. You begin to wonder who you'll be without this person, this role, this connection. The relationship may no longer nourish you, but it has become familiar. And familiarity can feel safer than freedom. Stoicism teaches that fear is a poor advisor, not the fear of danger, but the fear of change. You may tell yourself that staying is a choice, but deep down, you sense that leaving would force you to face uncertainty. Silence, space, yourself, and that feels more threatening than the slow erosion you've grown used to. This is how attachment disguises itself as loyalty. You're not staying because the relationship is good. You're staying because it fills a psychological gap. Epictetus warned that when we tie our sense of identity to things outside our control, people, roles, approval, we give them power over our peace. The fear of losing them becomes stronger than the desire to live in alignment with our values. Ask yourself honestly, if this relationship disappeared tomorrow, what scares me most? Is it loneliness? Is it losing purpose? Is it the uncertainty of rebuilding? None of these fears mean the relationship is healthy. They simply reveal how much of your identity has been outsourced. A Stoic does not confuse dependency with devotion. Strength is not found in clinging. It is found in standing on one's own character. When you fear who you'll be without someone, it's often because you've been shrinking yourself to maintain the bond. And shrinking feels safer than stepping into the unknown. But here is the Stoic paradox. The discomfort of separation is sharp, but temporary. The discomfort of staying misaligned is dull, but permanent. One hurts loudly and then heals. The other numbs you slowly while taking years from your life. Stoicism does not promise comfort, it promises clarity. You are not meant to define yourself through endurance alone. You are meant to cultivate virtue, self-command, and inner order, things that cannot be taken away by the absence of another person. If your loyalty is fueled by fear, it is not loyalty. It is avoidance wearing a noble mask. Ask yourself this final question with courage. Am I loyal because this aligns with my values, or because I'm afraid to face who I might become without them? A Stoic chooses the path that strengthens the soul, and even when it requires standing alone for a time. And remember this, attachment often pretends to be loyalty, but freedom begins when you stop mistaking fear for devotion. Sign 7. Your inner voice is constantly warning. You pay attention to the signal you keep ignoring. It's subtle at first, a quiet discomfort, a tightening in your chest, a lingering thought that says, something about this doesn't feel right. You don't have proof. You can't always explain it. So you dismiss it. You tell yourself you're overthinking. You assume you're being unfair. You choose harmony over honesty. Stoicism teaches that wisdom often arrives before certainty. The inner voice is not emotion. It is perception forming. It is your mind recognizing patterns before your rational justifications catch up. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to trust reason over impulse. But reason does not only speak in arguments, it also speaks through repeated impressions. When a warning returns again and again, it is no longer noise. It is information. In quietly destructive relationships, your inner voice is often the first thing to suffer. Each time you ignore it, you teach yourself not to trust your own judgment. Over time, this creates a dangerous gap between what you sense and what you allow yourself to acknowledge. You feel tension, but you smile. You sense manipulation, but you stay silent. You notice inconsistency, but you explain it away. This is how self-doubt is trained. A Stoic does not panic at intuition, but he also does not dismiss it. He pauses. He observes. He asks, what pattern am I seeing? Because patterns are the language of truth. Your inner voice is not asking you to accuse. It is asking you to see. The longer you ignore it, the louder the cost becomes. What begins as discomfort turns into anxiety. Anxiety turns into resentment. And resentment hardens into quiet bitterness. Not toward them, but toward yourself. Why? Because part of you knows you've been warned. Stoicism teaches that inner harmony depends on alignment between perception and action. When those drift apart, suffering begins. Not because of the relationship itself, but because you are betraying your own awareness. Here is a powerful Stoic realization. Peace comes from trusting your judgment, not from maintaining appearances. You do not need certainty to take a step back. You do not need permission to pause. You do not need to justify listening to yourself. Ask yourself this calmly. How many times has my inner voice tried to protect me, and I ignored it to keep the peace? That answer matters. A Stoic understands that the most dangerous loyalty is not to others, but against oneself. The moment you silence your inner warning system, you become vulnerable to anything that benefits from your blindness. And remember this truth. Ignoring your inner signal is the most expensive loyalty you will ever pay. Sign 8, staying loyal, costs you your self-respect. This is the final line, and the most dangerous one to cross. Self-respect rarely disappears all at once. It erodes quietly. You stop speaking up when something feels wrong. You tolerate jokes that diminish you. You accept treatment you would never allow for someone you love. And one day, you realize something unsettling. You no longer recognize yourself. Stoicism teaches that self-respect is not pride, it is alignment. It is the inner agreement between your values and your actions. When those drift apart, you may keep the relationship, but you lose your center. This is the ultimate cost of misplaced loyalty. You begin to negotiate your standards. You lower your expectations, not because they were unrealistic, but because enforcing them would threaten the relationship. So you tell yourself it's temporary, that you're being patient, that this is maturity. But Stoicism is clear. Virtue does not require self-erasure. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a person should never act against their own nature as a rational, dignified being. When staying loyal forces you to abandon honesty, boundaries, or self-command, the price is too high, no matter who the other person is. Self-respect is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. You notice its absence only after it's been gone for a while. You feel smaller, less grounded, less certain of your own worth. And the longer this continues, the harder it becomes to imagine life any other way. That is how people get trapped. Not by force, not by obligation, but by the gradual normalization of disrespect. A Stoic does not measure loyalty by suffering endured. He measures it by character preserved. If remaining close to someone requires you to violate your own principles, then loyalty has turned inward, against you. Here is the clearest Stoic truth of all. Anything that demands the loss of your self-respect demands too much. You are not meant to be endlessly accommodating. You are not meant to shrink to keep others comfortable. You are not meant to sacrifice your dignity for connection. Ask yourself this question with brutal honesty. Am I staying because this reflects who I am, or because leaving would force me to admit I abandoned myself? That answer tells you everything. Stoicism does not teach abandonment without reason. It teaches withdrawal with dignity when virtue is at risk. Walking away is not a failure of loyalty. It is sometimes the highest expression of it, directed where it belongs first, to yourself. And remember this, clearly and without compromise, the moment loyalty costs your self-respect, it must end. Because a Stoic may endure hardship, but he never surrenders his soul. Throughout this video, we've uncovered 8 clear signs that loyalty, when misplaced, can quietly turn against you. Not through chaos, not through open betrayal, but through slow erosion of your energy, your boundaries, your clarity, and ultimately, your self-respect. Stoicism does not teach blind endurance. It teaches awareness, discipline, and dignity. If even one of these signs resonated with you, don't ignore it. Awareness is not meant to shame you, it's meant to free you. The Stoic path begins the moment you stop lying to yourself and start honoring what your character requires. Here's your practice. Take one relationship in your life and observe it without emotion. Ask yourself calmly, does this connection strengthen my virtue or slowly weaken it? You don't need to confront. You don't need to explain. Just see clearly. Clarity alone begins change. Remember, loyalty is not proven by how much you can tolerate. It's proven by how well you protect your peace, your values, and your inner order. If this video helped you gain that clarity, thank you for spending this time with me. I appreciate your attention, your reflection, and your willingness to look inward, because that is where real strength is built. If you found value here, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing this with someone who may need it. Until the next video, stay disciplined, stay aware, and above all, choose self-respect over silent destruction.